Hey, TYT Politics, this is Nomi Konst here in New York, joined by my colleague, Sean King, who is a TYT Politics commentator, and he's also a columnist at the Daily News and criminal justice advocate. Both of us have been talking a lot about this independent Democratic conference based in New York, which is a group of 8 rogue Democrats, elected as Democrats from Democratic districts, who are aligning themselves with Republicans, giving the Republicans the control of the state Senate and ultimately the control over the budget and New York state politics. So, Sean, thank you for joining us. I know you're really busy.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to do it, and you've covered this story in much greater depth. I think what's interesting about me is I had the stereotypical view of New York politics, and I had no idea as a new New Yorker that there was this really ridiculous story of Democrats actually having a majority in the New York State Senate, which is one of the most powerful state senates in the country. It has as much power literally as some countries do. And Democrats have control, but that there's this group, this really peculiar group of 8 Democrats who are basically siding with the Republicans and giving them power. And I have been studying it closely just for a few weeks, and I still can't make sense of it. Because I don't even see how the theory was that these 8 Democrats were getting side deals or power from the Republicans, and I don't see that. Like, it seems like a terrible deal, one, just for Democrats in New York, but it doesn't even seem like these 8 Democrats are getting back what they thought they would. And it's a mess. It's a complete mess.
I think you're right, and especially now in the era of Trump, where people are more woke and they're willing to show up and protest these Democrats. I think they're feeling the heat, whether they're feeling it through protests or stories. You know, the TYT's covering it now, and obviously our audience is very engaged. Or you're reporting. They're feeling it, and they might feel it when they get primaried, because the Senate Democrats have said that they're willing to primary these Democrats.
Yeah. Well, we should. I think all of them. And I mean, I'm incredibly pissed, and I take it very personally because right now, like, as we speak, the state's budget was really due by 4 o'clock today, and Governor Cuomo, for the past 6 years, has always prided himself on having an on-time state budget, and he pledged that this part of his budget, called Raise the Age, would be a significant part of his platform. And Raise the Age is where in 48 other states in the country, you have to be 18 years or older to be tried as an adult for a crime. And most states have a few exceptions. It could be with a particular felony, like perhaps first-degree rape or first-degree murder. Well, 2 states, North Carolina and New York, automatically try all 16-year-olds or older as adults for all crimes. And so if a 16-year-old sophomore or junior in high school steals a candy bar, he or she is tried as an adult, sentenced as an adult. It's on their permanent record. They are sent to an adult prison. And the most obvious story with that is Khalif Browder, who was wrongly accused of stealing a backpack that he did not steal, was then sent to Rikers Island, the local jail, was never formally charged, never went to court, and languished there for over 3 years. And had this law been in place, had the age of criminal prosecution been what it is in most places, he would have never been sent there in the first place. And
Rikers Island is, of course, it's known for the founder was literally somebody who would put, or the name Riker
absolutely
was somebody who actually pushed for the enslavement of African Americans in America.
Which is that in and of itself, and so the mayor of New York, Blasio, who I like him and respect him, but we've been critical of him. he made a profound announcement today
Right.
that they are going to close Rikers Island. It's going to be a very long, controversial, tedious process, and that was a reversal for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he made that reversal in huge part because activists and leaders and protesters demanded it, and a blue ribbon panel said that's the best solution. And so the reality is that raise the age could have passed 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year. It could have passed this afternoon. And it's not Republicans. It's not Donald Trump. It's Democrats in the Senate who have delayed it, blocked it, and refused to approve it. And they're doing it again right now. And
because they left their conference. So if
yeah,
the Senate was controlled, the stronger form of raise the age would have been passed and sent to Governor Cuomo's desk for him to sign. But because
yeah,
these
yeah,
rogue
absolutely.
Democrats,
Yeah,
so
they're not. It's not about policy for them.
right?
It's about power. And so there was already a raise the age bill, and it had support for Democrats. These other eight decided to go in a different direction, which then divided the Democrats that were there. And so you have a divided Democratic Senate with a unified Republican Senate. And so Democrats should have been able to just zoom this through, and they couldn't. And I've talked to half of those eight today, and they've all said it reminds me very eerily of Republicans who said they wanted to repeal Obamacare, and then when it came time to do it, they just couldn't do it. They refused to do it. And all of the Senate Democrats I talked to today said, hey, we want to raise the age, we want to do this, but when the rubber meets the road, they're getting in the way of doing it. And so it's a mess. And these are real people's lives that they're messing with. And this bill, South Carolina, for instance, passed this bill almost unanimously.
Mm-hmm.
And with a Republican legislature, Republican governor, North Carolina is about to pass their version of it. It has bipartisan support in North Carolina. Even their police officers association is supporting it. Their judicial associations have supported it. So that New York is still blocking it is preposterous. It's not sensible. It's not reasonable. And that Democrats are playing any role in that. I refuse to shut up about it because this is one of those things where Trump is a real boogeyman, but not in this. This has nothing to do with Trump, nothing to do with Paul Ryan, nothing to do with Mitch McConnell. Democrats are ruining this, and people get angry when we call them out, and I'm uncomfortable doing it. I wish they'd just fix it.
Well, and honestly, Sean, most Democrats in the state, I think what's so fascinating about this is not the establishment. This is literally a minority, a group that just went off on their own to cut deals when the majority of Democrats in the state side with their party that wants to push forward stronger legislation. So
here's the thing. I'm even okay with rogue factions breaking off and doing good work.
Right.
This is a rogue faction that is causing good stuff to not get passed.
Exactly.
And so in New York, which shocks people because the legislature has a supermajority, they could get anything passed.
Right.
Anything. It could be amazingly progressive ideas. It's one of the most progressive bodies in the entire country. They can fly stuff through, and it can't get passed because this small group of Democrats continues to side with the Republicans. And this is complicated. My initial assumption was that this was a group of conservative white Democrats.
Nope.
It's not what it is. There are a few of those in this group, but it's an eclectic group of black, Latino, and white Democrats who are using it as a power grab, and it's not effective. It's terribly ineffective. And whatever their aim was, they are missing the mark significantly.
And initially, they were criticized because the leader of the IDC, the Independent Democratic Conference, is a white man who, I've interviewed several senators at this point and political players, and the rumor was that he wanted to be in a position of power. He wanted to be majority leader,
Sure.
and when he wasn't, he went off and split and cut a deal with the Republicans. Of course, if the Senate was in control, you would have an African American woman, the first African American woman,
Right.
as a Senate majority leader. And I think, they make claims of being diverse and standing for people of color and their communities when they're actually preventing people of color from being represented at higher levels. So I have a question for you about the differences, because the IDC had presented their version of Raise the Age, and their spokespeople went out and said, we're progressive, and we believe in Raise the Age. And Jeff Klein, the leader, wrote an op-ed today talking about how those who are put in jail at an earlier age, incarcerated at an earlier age, have the risks of being sexually, whether dealing with some sort of, he basically listed off a list of reasons as to what would happen.
The science behind, and Jeff Klein, who leads that Independent Democratic Conference, much of what he said in his op-ed was accurate, and even parts of their bill is good. It's my beef. While I do have there are two competing bills now,
right,
which should not have happened, and one is genuinely, sincerely progressive, and one at quick glance looks that way, and then as soon as you begin looking at the details, you realize that it compromises some of the most essential aspects of the progressive bill. And particularly, the goal was for any 16 or 17-year-olds who are charged with crimes that they go to family court,
right,
which is standard in many states across the country. They removed that. They removed many other essential protections that in essence say, oh, we won't charge 16-year-olds as adults, but it has an asterisk next to it, and they still send them basically through the adult system. And again, if this rogue group if they were at the table, I spoke to 10 different Senate Democrats today who said that they really don't even have active relationships with the IDC, that they're not coming to the planning sessions, that when they were trying to they said many Republicans came to say, how can we hash this out and then make this a part of law? And that the IDC, they weren't even coming to some of the planning meetings. And so here we are, all across the country, people are fighting with really serious, frightening problems, and Democrats are creating a problem that doesn't even need to exist. And very, very frustrating. I just got a text from a senator here in New York saying that they're going to go live there on the floor of the state Senate. They are being asked to come back, and so it may take a few hours. All of this is significant for a national audience because Democrats have so little power in the country.
Right.
We don't control the House. We don't control the Senate. Democrats don't control the presidency. They hardly have any governorships. And in New York is one of the few places that Democrats could have power, and they're blowing it.
Yep.
It's one of the most important places Democrats could have power, and they are literally self-destructing. And it's humiliating, honestly.
You know what it's really fascinating to me? Some of the stuff that they block, intentionally so, I understand because there are major interests in this state. So education is really what the budget is going to come down to right now. Education funding, because charter schools are huge in New York. They're putting a lot of money into the state. Same thing with real estate. I understand from the perspective of major interests in this state why they want to control the IDC on these issues. But on something like raise the age, where Republicans are even coming in, where in Republican states they understand why this is something that needs to be addressed, I literally do not understand why the IDC is playing games with it. And of course, it's not going to be in the budget. So who are the interests that want raise the age off the table?
Well, it's a good question. And I think I'm questioning everybody at this point. And there's a part of me, because it's so peculiar. Governor Cuomo has been pretty much silent all day today. We expected he would chime in and say, "Get raise the age done." It made me even wonder: does he actually want this to pass? Has he lobbied the IDC in any way to present this alternative bill? Many people think so. Some people think he's partnering with them on this. But there's so many different industries that benefit not just from mass incarceration, but that also don't want to invest true resources into violence prevention.
Right.
And this is something that when we have a industrial complex around mass incarceration, anything that seems to tinker with it, some people want to avoid it. But this group of 8, I kid you not, I've been so perplexed because every one of them I've talked to swears that they want to see it, that they actually support it. And then when you push them on, well, what's your vote? They clam up. And it's been like I can't get any one of them to shoot straight with me. And, they've been offended when I've called them out on Twitter.
I've been there on that one.
Yeah, and I get it because that's a lot of pressure to have someone call you out. And when they're not used to that, I don't want to do that. Just pass the damn bill. But
that's also their job. They have to be responsive to their constituents. They have to be responsive to journalists. They have to be responsive to community organizations. That's what they were elected for. And
absolutely. And I think we're also dealing with that reality, the weird reality of how many people don't really know what's going on at this level of government. Like I get the feeling that a lot of their constituents would be shocked to learn that their state senators, they're not radicals, they're not revolutionaries. They present themselves like, hey, we're rogue for you.
Right.
But here's this opportunity they have to do something that would particularly benefit so many New Yorkers, particularly here in New York City, and they're not doing it. So, I'm going to be watching closely. I just think it's a test case for, why it is important for us to look at these local races, because there are great opportunities for power and influence for the things that we value most, and they're being squandered in way too many places. And that's why we started Justice Democrats. That's why so many grassroots organizations are saying, hey, we need to primary some of these men and women and show them that that what they're doing is just not good enough, and it's not.
Sean, great conversation. Very, very helpful. We'll be, following this story well past the budget. Of course, the budget highlighted a lot of what's happening with the IDC, but there's a long road ahead. They're up for re-election next year. This is serious stuff, especially in a state, as you said, when there's so few states that are completely controlled by Democrats or where Democrats have any control, especially one like New York State, which has a governor that has been rumored to have interest in running for president. You'd think that he would do everything he could to get, as the leader of the Democratic Party in this state, to get those 8 rogue Democrats on board so he could be a progressive champion.
Yep.
So
we'll wait and see it. I'm not seeing that, but we will wait and see.
Yep. All right, Sean, thank you very much. Sean King, he's a columnist at the Daily News and, of course, is a commentator for TYT Politics. I'm Nomi Konst. Thanks, guys.